I need to go on Insta. I just need to do my thing real quick, just to get some people in here. Anyways, my name is Brody. My Twitch, I'm known as Scrublord, but everybody calls me Brody or Beans or Douchebag or whatever. Ah, shit. We're gonna keep this one PG, man. Got to keep this one PG. You know, we tagged Undisputed. We tagged First Take, which if they put a gun to my head and were like, hey, who's better? Sorry, Skip. Sorry, Shannon. Gotta go with my boy, Stephen A. Smith. It's my ride or die. And my boy, Max Kellerman. And the always beautiful Molly. Can't forget about her. They just got a good crew, man. And they're on ESPN. You know? Sorry. I love those guys. I love you all too, though, Shannon and Skip. Don't get me wrong. Even though, Skip, you just get blown out every time. You got blown out by Stephen A. Smith. You're getting blown out by Shannon Sharp. Still love you, man. You're a Cowboys fan. I still love you. You're cool, man. We're cool. Anyways, there's a lot on my mind today. We had some crazy stuff happen last night in sports. Sports. There's one thing I want to say about sports. And what sports are all about. Sports are all about bringing people together, strengthening a community. But most importantly, sports are about moments, special moments. And oh my God, last night did we have multiple special moments in sports? I think maybe 3 spread between 2 different sports. We had just numerous special moments take place. I hate to start my segment off with this, but I have to. Last night, we're going to just get right into the NBA and the playoffs. We had 4 matchups last night. And last night was a crazy night when I was talking those special moments. I'm talking about the Cavs. 1 out of 3 of special moments that I saw last night. One of those belonged to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last night was a crazy night for them. It was a nail-biter win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Took the win 98-95. This was a very, very controversial last 2 minutes of the game. Very controversial fourth quarter. But just to kind of start off things, just to throw it off the back burner, Kyle Korver, you did your thing, man. Scored 19 points. But based off of a 5-for-9 showout from the three-point line. One of the best catch and shooters in the league. He's proved it in his, I think, 10, 12 years in the league or so. He's just been spectacular his whole life in the NBA, his whole career. So I'm glad that he finally showed up, gave LeBron some support, and made those big shots, especially down the stretch. But moving on to the king, LeBron James. LeBron James delivered last night. We saw a throwback LeBron. The LeBron that carries a team in the playoffs. Actually, I take that back. The LeBron that carries a Cavaliers team in the playoffs. He never had to carry the Miami Heat. He had Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Mario Chalmers. He had some great guys. But LeBron delivered last night with the game-saving block, which we'll get into that. Goaltend. And then the game-winning 3 on the other side of the floor. Not even a few seconds later. And that seals the game. That sealed Game 5. Cleveland takes the series 3-2. And the funniest part about LeBron's three-pointer last night is he shot 4 threes. That was the only one that he made. He made the only one that counted when the game was on the line. So shout out to LeBron, finishing with 44 points, 10 boards, 8 assists, 2 assists shy of a triple-double, of a massive triple-double. He's just still putting his showcase on that he's the best in the world at the age of 33 in year 15, for sure. He's doing it. I haven't seen an athlete do things like he's done ever. This is great. He's definitely going to go down as one of the greatest athletes of all time. It was awesome. It was his 21st 40-point or his 21st career 40-point playoff game. I believe that puts him fourth. Or no, that puts him second. Sorry. I'm getting my rankings mixed up here. Fourth is for something else. Second on the all-time list, NBA all-time list. Not franchise, not the entire NBA, of the entire life of the NBA. Second most all-time. So good for you, LeBron. Keep it up. Now, the key to the game, honestly, was Victor Oladipo last night. Victor Oladipo was held to 12 points. Again, just the shooting woes continue to happen for him. 2 for 15 shooting. That's not who Victor Oladipo is. That's not. He did get to the line though. 2 for 15. Yeah, it looks bad, but then when you look at the free throws, he did get to the line a few times. Made 7 of his 9 free throws. So, I mean, the 2 for 15 does kind of get washed away a little bit when you see the free throws, but still, you don't want to see that 2 for 15 stat ever. No excuse. But he's struggled shooting in the last 3 games. It's not even just this one. In the last 3 games, I pulled up his shooting for the last 3 games and just added his makes and misses, all his makes and attempts. He's been 12 shots made for 50 attempts in these last 3 games that they have played. He's the difference maker for this team. He's the reason why this team is where they are. The chemistry that they've built, the scoring machine that he is, that's what they need to win this series against the Cavs. Are they going to win this series against the Cavs? No. The energy level, the momentum that just shifted last night after that game-winning 3, you saw the crowd, you saw LeBron, you saw the rookie, you saw J.R. Smith, you saw Kevin Love, you see all of these guys in the postgame. There is no way that they're going to let LeBron down after a showout, after a performance like that. There's no way. No way at all. So I don't even think it's going to go to 7. If it does, I wouldn't be surprised, just because Victor Oladipo can show up at any point. And if he does, then yes, the Cavs will be in a little bit of trouble. But they'll still win it in Game 7 in Cleveland for sure. LeBron won't let that happen. Victor Oladipo also claims, so like I said, the game-winning block or game-saving block, we'll get into that. And we're going to get into that now, because Victor Oladipo in the post-game interview said that the shot was a goaltend, and then he also felt like he got pulled. Now, I watched the play. He didn't get pulled. He was just, LeBron was just letting him know. He's like, hey, I'm going to be your girlfriend. I'm going to be right next to you. Like, bam, like this. I'm going to be right on you. I'm going to be your chick. Or you're going to be my chick. However he feels. However he looked at it. But Victor Oladipo claimed that it was a goaltend, which it was. Was it a goaltend? If you want my yes or no, just straight up instead of an explanation, yes, it was a goaltend. Point blank, period, was a goaltend. Victor Oladipo's layup did touch the glass, but it was just a bang bang play, bang bang, and with the refs, it's too fast of a play, and that's one of the first reasons why I know that they didn't call the play. One, it was way too fast. It was a bang bang play. The ball bounced off the backboard, and literally LeBron smacked that, just pushed it to the backboard as soon as it touched the glass, and the refs couldn't see it. I honestly didn't even see it until they put it in the slowest motion possible. Another thing is if you watch the whole game, which I did, there was an out of bounds play call when Victor Oladipo got the ball back to go for that layup. Now, the ball bounced out of bounds first, but it bounced right on the line, bounced straight up, and it hit LeBron's hand. So the ref saw that it hit his hand. They didn't see that the ball touched the line. So the ball should have been awarded to Cleveland. That block shouldn't have even happened. Cleveland should have got the ball. Cleveland should have ran a play and just gone up and then just played defense to save the game instead of get a game-winning shot. But the refs wanted to give them back that mistake, because the refs definitely know that they make mistakes. They don't know that they make a mistake after the game. Trust me, they know right off the bat when they make a mistake. So yeah, the refs wanted to give them back a bad out of bounds call. Ball bounced on the line before it touched LeBron. They didn't see it, but it's okay. That's why they made up for that call in the goaltend. I feel like that might be why, because, you can hear, oh no, the crowd's loud, but I don't know. I don't know what the refs saw or didn't see on that goaltend call, because it's hard to believe sometimes that refs give calls back, but that's the way that I see it sometimes. Game 6 will be on Friday, and it's in Indy. It's in Indianapolis. Or Indiana, sorry. Now, if Oladipo doesn't figure out his scoring, it's point blank closeout. Hands down. LeBron, you're winning this series all day. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, I don't really need to say much more about LeBron. He's showcased to be the greatest player of all time. One of them, top 3 for sure. Best player on the floor now. Best player in the NBA now. He's showing it. There's not much more I can say about it, honestly. Second most all time on the 40 points on the 40-point games. He's doing good. He's doing really good. Showing out. All right, so moving on. We're not going to move on to more magical moments. We're going to save those. We're going to save a few. We'll save a few. Now, in other news, the Toronto Raptors, defeated the Wizards in a 108-98 game. It was an emotional game. Toronto's been going through some tragedies as a community, and they're pulling through. Shout out to Toronto. Shout out to Drake. You keep your city on lock, man. Big shots made by this not even young. Big shots made by the Toronto Raptors towards the end of the game. They made some really, really big shots. DeMar DeRozan showed out, scored 32 points, posted 5 assists. Kyle Lowry, double-double with 17 points, 10 assists. Good job. Really good dynamic duo there. They're one of my personal favorite duos. Now, the Raptors came back from they were up 2-0 when they won their first 2 home games in Toronto. Then they went back to Washington, and they lost their 2 games in Washington. So both teams defended home court advantage really, really, really well. So there's a best of 3 series now at this point. Well, yesterday. I need to stop yawning. But back-to-back losses. Looking at the season for the Toronto Raptors were the only team in the NBA this season that did not lose 3 straight games. They're the only team that didn't drop 3 straight. They lost 2 in a row, they would win. They were 5-0 this season. 5-0 when they would lose back, coming from a game or playing a game after losing back-to-back games. They were 5-0. It's good. It's a good stat. Made me feel comfortable with picking the Raptors to win this one. Of course, it's in Toronto as well. I think the home teams are just going to win all these games. I think this is going to go to 7. John Wall and Bradley Beal, they both played their hearts out. They really did. But the Raptors were just a little bit better last night. The difference maker, honestly, last night, and you guys probably have no idea unless you're just a crazy Raptors fan or a big basketball fan or you follow it like I do, or if Stephen A. Smith is watching. I hope he's watching, or at least going on to the YouTube to check it out. But I think he might agree with me that the difference maker last night late in the game was DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright was, for the Raptors, played very, very, very well down the stretch. He didn't score a lot, but he secured the ball. They put the ball in his hands to drive it up the floor, take it up the floor. And he just allowed that duo. He just allowed Kyle Lowry and he allowed DeMar DeRozan to play off the ball, which was great. DeMar, oh my gosh, DeMar's probably one of the best players in the league when he plays off the ball. He's really good when he's off the ball. But again, the Wizards, nothing against the Wizards. They didn't play a bad game. Toronto just clicked on all cylinders. This was a very, very, very close game up until I'd say about the third, like late in the third. Late in the third is when they slowly started. You could slowly tell they were starting to pull away. But John Wall posted 26 points. He was a good defensive presence on the other side of the floor. Bradley Beal putting up 20 points. Attaboy. I mean, they combined for 46 points at backcourt, so that was good. But they lost the game with about 3 minutes left. This was when they absolutely lost the game, was when there was about 3 minutes left in the game, and the Raptors pulled away even more. Now, Game 6 is Friday in Washington. John Wall quotes that they love our chances to force Game 7, which I agree. I agree with John Wall. John Wall, I believe that you guys will force a Game 7 because you guys defend your home courts so well. You guys have a great crowd behind both teams, and I think the home team is just going to win every game, which means that the Toronto Raptors will win the series. So that's it for the Raptors. Again, that was a pretty short and sweet game. Not a whole lot, not a lot of drama or anything like that popping in. Next, moving on, we got the Rockets. The Rockets finally closed. Well, not finally, but the Rockets closed out the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. In what seemed to be an easy 122-104 win. Houston seemed to get their 3-point percentage back together, I guess. I say that with just a grain of salt. They had a 41% outing last night from the 3-point line, and they made a series high 18 threes. That's the most threes that they made in a game all series, 18. Again, 6 players in double figures last night for the Houston Rockets. Clint Capella led the way, though, last night. 26 points. He just dominated the boards. He had 15 boards, led the way, just dominated the glass, dominated the paint. He was on top of his game. He was actually the MVP of the game last night, in my opinion. James Harden put up 24 points. Shot 8 for 21 from the floor. It's all right. It's not James Harden-like, but I'll take it. I'm not too worried about it. Doesn't worry me as they won and they have the team that they have. You got CP3, you got James Harden, you got Trevor Ariza, you got Clint Capella, Eric Gordon coming off the bench. You're okay. You're okay, James. One game's not going to make me too worried. Now, CP3 facilitated with unselfish play. Just complete unselfish play last night, putting up 12 points and 9 dimes. 1 assist away from a double-double last night for CP3. Now, when I say that Houston got their 3-point percentage together, and when I say that with a grain of salt, this is what I mean. Chris Paul and James Harden, you are the 2 best players on this team. You're the best players on the floor for the Houston Rockets. You guys need to set the example from the 3-point line. Like I said, I'm not worried. It's just one game. But CP3, 0 for 8 from 3 last night. And James, 4 for 11. They combined 4 for 19 from 3. CP3 and James Harden combined 4 for 19 from the 3-point line. It's insane. And they still won. They won in the fashion that they did, 122-104. They got the win. It's insane. So even with a bad shooting night from your 2 best players, I know Eric Gordon came off the bench and scored like 18, 19 or something like that. But again, 6 players in double figures, it's hard not to get a W when you got that. Now on the other side, Catman, Karl Anthony Towns, he was a man. He had 23 points, 14 boards. Jamal Crawford added 20 points off the bench. He was the one that scored the most points off the bench from both teams. I think they played a series. They played a good series. Just the only thing, I know Stephen A said that Cat looked really, really, really soft, that he didn't want to be there, that he was getting dominated and stuff like that. I saw a little bit of that, and I think it's just because of the inexperience, the intensity level. I know that sometimes when you play with that regular season intensity level, if the other team has got a full playoff mentality, yes, you're going to lose that game. You're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the series. off the pick and roll, they were really, really successful off the pick and roll this series with Karl Anthony Towns. When they would set the pick and roll and they would get the switch would either be on Chris Paul, James Harden, Trevor Ariza, and Karl would just, Catman should have gone to town. I would have ran that play every single time until they figured out, like, hey, we need to get Capella on the switch. We need to figure out how to keep Capella stuck to Cat. If they're going to run the pick and rolls, why don't we just switch the defender and send help if they're not going to run a pick and roll? Like, they didn't stick to what was working. And I think Catman will be taking this experience with him through the offseason. It's his first playoff series as a second-year player. So I think he's going to take this experience with him through the offseason. He's going to train hard, and I think he's going to have a really, really great career. And I think he's going to be back in the playoffs next year. Jimmy Butler, I know he missed a lot of time this season, so getting his legs back, I know, was probably a big challenge for him for the start of the playoffs. But again, I think 4 games out of this 5 games that they played, he didn't score over 20 points. And that's a problem. You're Jimmy Buckets, man. You are Jimmy Buckets, the Jimmy Buckets. You got brought to that squad as veteran presence, as the leader to bring this team over the hump. Sucks that you had to get hurt and came back trying to get those fresh legs back, and it just didn't work. You also had to play the Houston Rockets. You guys were a 3 seed when Jimmy Buckets went down, when Jimmy Butler went down. You guys were the 3 seed. You guys fought to keep that. I know it was the 3 seed and the 8th seed at that time was a differential of about 3.5 games. But, Now moving on. Houston Rockets are going to be awaiting the winner of the series of the Utah Jazz and Oklahoma City Thunder, which is what I want to get into when we're talking about special moments in sports. Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook deserve one of those moments. They deserve one of those spots in the special moments showcase last night. The Thunder surprised the world with a crazy comeback win, 107-99 over the Utah Jazz. It was at home. Now, I was watching the game, and just when it looked like they were gone, they were done, 25 points, I literally walked away from my TV. I started making food, got on my computer, started typing up my segment for today. And I was just like, wow, I'm going to have to write about how Russ just lost it. All because of one game that he wanted to just prove something. And I didn't. I literally was writing and I was hearing just cheers. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, we're in OKC. What's going on? They started making a little comeback. Paul George, Russell Westbrook. They started just making little shots here and there. I'll get into one last thing about that too towards the end of my segment on just this specific game. God, what's wrong with me? I'm narcoleptic. So Russ put up an unbelievable stat line. He had 45 points, 15 boards, 7 assists in his show out last night. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. 33 of his 45 points came in the second half. Now, again, I pulled the stats for the series, just like I pulled the stats for the series for the, the Pacers with Victor Oladipo and his shooting struggles in the last 3 games. I pulled out Russell Westbrook's second half points for the series. Before last night's game, Russell Westbrook had 36 second half points total. 36 second half points his whole series before last night's game. He scored 33 points in the second half last night. 33. It led to a 25-point comeback. That was the deficit. I know I was keeping that suspense up. but it led to a 25-point comeback. That's the fourth largest comeback over the last 20 years in the postseason. PG-13, playoff P, Paul George put up 34 points last night. 79 combined points by that dynamic duo. That's the most by a duo in franchise history for this team. And that's Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony. That's everybody. Which we're going to get into Carmelo. I kind of just spilled the beans a little bit. You know, we haven't talked about Melo yet this game. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I'm waiting for my milk carton to show up for Carmelo. But the Thunder went on a 32-7 run in the second half. Went on a 32-7 run. Scoring run just to erase the deficit completely. Ultimately, the Jazz just stopped playing defense. Rudy Gobert got into foul trouble last night. I think he got his fifth foul with about 3:46. Let's see. Yep, 3:46 left in the third quarter. He got into the 5-foul trouble. Russell Westbrook, he did save the day with a Brings. I think that's his name, a Bringes. Back-to-back threes to start the fourth quarter, which gave them the lead. So it was just an all-around just epic battle. And then once they got the lead, they just didn't stop. Russell Westbrook is the most ferocious competitor I've ever seen on the basketball court. I can see why Michael Jordan has Russell Westbrook as the face of his brand now. It's just Russell Westbrook. It's so crazy to talk about Russ because when he plays, you get mad. You get so mad a lot when he plays. You're just like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? But then when they get a win and when he just stacks these stats the way he does and facilitates, you're just like, what happened? What was that? You did what? Oh, no, you're fine, Russ. That's literally what it is. It's absolutely what it is. But I think he's I don't look at it that way personally. Even through his bad games, even when he tries to pack the stats, even when he tries to force things that aren't there, make things personal. I overlook those things. Why? Because I know Russell Westbrook is probably one of the greatest players in basketball right now too. He's definitely a top 5. Conditionally, the only other player that I know that can keep up with him is LeBron. Or the only player that can keep up with Russ is LeBron. I mean, Russ has shown zero sign of fatigue this whole series, whereas LeBron showed a little bit of fatigue, but not a lot to make you absolutely worried about his conditioning. So, but yeah, I think Russ is just going to dominate, and I think they haven't accomplished anything because it is a 3-2 series now. They have to win 2 more. They have to go back to Utah. They have to go back to Salt Lake City. They have to win that game, and then they have to come back home and win again. Are they going to do it? No. They're 0-11 as a team when they go down 3-1. Records are meant to be broken. When you go 0 for so long, it's bound to happen. But our 0 for this season already happened. Toronto Raptors never won a game 1 ever, and they did. So that's our first timer this year in the playoffs. I don't think we're going to have 2 first timers. I want to. Trust me, I want Oklahoma City to win. I love Paul George. I love Russell Westbrook. I love Carmelo Anthony. I love Billy Donovan. I like Billy Donovan a lot as a coach. But I think Utah is just a lot more. They're a more well put together team. As far as knowing who they are, the chemistry that they have together. Oklahoma City obviously has way more talent. Yes. Oklahoma City has far more talent than Utah. But Utah knows how to use their players. Utah knows how to work together. Utah knows how to facilitate the ball. They move the ball. It's just it's so smooth. But it was so easy to tell that Rudy Gobert is a big part of this ball movement because he's such a threat at the post that stretches the floor and that allows easy ball movement. So I think with Rudy Gobert coming back, new game, no foul trouble, I think they're probably just going to close out Game 6. But then again, Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook. He can single-handedly win these next 2 games by himself. He can. As long as his teammates make the shots that he dishes them, yep, they're going to win. They will. But it's a long shot. Now on the other side, I didn't even talk about anybody from Utah. So Jay Crowder had a playoff high, 27 points. He scored 27 points last night. Good job. Donovan Mitchell had 23. Ingles had 16. Still wasn't enough. Rudy Gobert needed to stay in the game. Game 6, again, Friday in Salt Lake City. Professionally, I think Utah's going to take it. In my heart, though, with the fire that Russell Westbrook has, I think they might win that game. Now, moving on to Melo. My segment the other day, I called out Carmelo Anthony asking where he was at on his 11-point show out. Taking his shots, missing. But this time, Melo. Do I need to call Shamrock Farms and put you on that milk carton? Where are you, man? I'm going to call Shamrock Farms right now. I'm going to say, hey, we have a missing in action going on. I'm going to send you a picture of this man. I need you to put him on your milk carton and send it to everybody around the world because somebody's got to find him. And his name is Carmelo Anthony. Where are you? Dude. Where are you? 7 points on just 2 for 6 shooting. Yeah, 2 for 6 isn't bad, 33%. But 6 shots taken as Carmelo Anthony. That's just, it's unheard of. This is not the Carmelo Anthony that I know. It's not. 7 points on 2 for 6 shooting, and he played 26 minutes. Let's just say this. He got pulled from the game when they were down 71-53. Carmelo didn't check back in until they got the lead, until it was 88-87. Carmelo, you're a great player. You're a great asset to the NBA. You're a great person. I'm pretty sure. I've followed you since you were a rookie. Again, I thought you were going to be the better end of the 1-2. I wanted you to be the better end of the 1-2 between LeBron going first and you going second. I always pulled for you more because it seemed like when you got drafted, nobody cared. You were forgotten about. You were really forgotten about when you got traded to New York, man. I feel like your winning spirit was lost there. It's really emotional for me to talk about this with Melo because he's one of the greatest American athletes of all time. He is. He will go down as one of the best American athletes ever. Champion. NCAA champion. Most gold medals among any USA basketball player. This guy is destined to at least have one NBA title, right? Or does he just win everything else and he doesn't win the title? Is that what his destiny is? I really hope not. I really want him to have one ring. I want to be able to see him show up as a guest appearance on The Jump or guest appearance on First Take or guest appearance on Undisputed. I want to see him in a suit, and when he puts his hands up, I want to see a fat NBA championship ring right on his freaking knuckles. I want to see one. Come on. Gotta show up, Melo. Hey! Hold on. Sorry. Had to yell at the dogs. Doing my segment. But Melo, that's all I'm gonna. That's where I'm gonna leave it at, my brother. We don't want to beat a dead horse. You know, you put out 11 points before. 7 points now. We need you. If they want to win this series, if they want to win this series with confidence, if they want to win this series with ease, Melo needs to show up a little bit more, just a little bit. Now, moving on to the NHL. Moving on to the action in the NHL last night. Game 7, we just had one Game 7 last night in the first round. Was not a disappointment whatsoever. Not a disappointment. Game 7 was a high-scoring 7-4 win for the Boston Bruins to advance. Bruins are going to go on to play the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Toronto, I honestly thought Toronto had this in the bag. So Toronto got the crowd out very early with a power play goal by Patrick Marleau. And then another one about 4 minutes later. The Bruins did get a goal in between by Jason DeBrusk, or Jake DeBrusk. Sorry, Jake. But again, you went up 2-1 in the first period. You took the crowd out of the game. You just got to close it out at that point. But then the Bruins, they answered back. They answered back with 2 goals, trick shot goals. One was a deflection. It was a shot from the blue line, and it looked like it was going to be wide off the net, and just a really awesome deflection. And then another deflection off the back of the boards behind the net. Wrapped around. Goalie didn't see it. Fred Anderson, and it was just an easy stuff. So Bruins came back, and they took a 3-2 lead at the end of that first period. So that got the crowd back into it. Got the momentum back on the Bruins side. Toronto comes back in the second period, though, with 2 goals. Shut them out in the second. It was great. One of those goals was a spectacular shorthanded goal by Kasperi Kapanen. He just, I can't even call it a forecheck, but he just muscled his way through a defender. Took the puck, just pickpocketed the guy, muscled him to a breakaway, and then beat the goalie. He beat Tuukka Rask. And at that point, at that shorthanded goal, I was like, because that was the second goal of that period, of the second period. And I was like, okay, there's no way. I was like, Toronto did this. I was like, Toronto's got this in the bag. Nope. Barry Melrose would be disappointed with me saying that, because we all know that the third period is the most important. You got to play a complete game. Fred Anderson allowed a whopping 4 goals in the third period. 4 goals in the third period. 2 of those were just, I know 2 of those were ones that he wants back. For sure. I know there's 2 of them that he would definitely want back. Yeah, 2 easy ones at the start of the third, and they got the momentum back, and that was all she wrote. The Bruins, they go on to play the Tampa Bay Lightning. Are they going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning? No, they're actually my Stanley Cup Finals pick to go all the way on. Or no, sorry. I have Caps Penguins in the Eastern Conference Finals. Sorry about that. Washington going all the way. This is my year for Ovechkin. But that's pretty much it that happened in sports. So we had 3 great moments. Russell Westbrook, great moment. LeBron, great moments. Bruins, the whole Bruins team, just wonderful tenacity, high level of competition. So we're going to stick with the NHL because we do have the next bit of series coming out. Now, the first series that we got is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are going to be taking on those Washington Capitals, my favorites this year. I need you guys. I need you guys. I need you guys. I need you guys to pull through against these Penguins, because every time the Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Washington Capitals in the playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins go on to win the Stanley Cup, and I do not want the Pittsburgh Penguins to win another Stanley Cup, because if they beat you guys, what does that mean? Well, history just says they're going to win a cup, and I don't want them to win a cup. No more cups for Sidney Crosby. We don't like Sidney Crosby. Do I think he's a great talent? Yes. I'm not one of those people that are just like, oh, he sucks because I hate him. No. I hate him, but he's not a scrub. He's a crybaby, maybe. He does dumb stuff on the ice, maybe. But he's a great player. He scores. He carries his team. There's no denying that. Now, Pittsburgh, again, has had great success with the Capitals in the playoffs, but the Penguins are missing a couple of key players. They have gotten banged up a little bit through this postseason, and I'm pretty sure the Capitals have the home ice advantage. Capital One Arena is where Game 1's taking place, so I honestly think Washington's going to get this one. I think Ovechkin is on a mission. I think Ovechkin's on more of a mission than he's ever been before. I know he's not going to rest until he gets one cup, at least. Now, on the other side of the puck for the Pittsburgh Penguins, center Evgeny Malkin, who led Pittsburgh in scoring in the regular season. Also, Carl Hagelin, little blondie wandy. One of their best penalty killers, honestly. He's been ruled out for Game 1, or they have been ruled out for Game 1. And it's just because of the little injuries that they sustained in the Philadelphia series. Now, I'm not going to say that the Capitals always lose to the Penguins, but it's very common. In the 10 postseason meetings between these two teams, the Capitals are 1-9. 1-9. It's not a good look. But every year is a new year. 1-9 doesn't matter this year. 1-9, 1-10 doesn't matter next year. If they were to lose this series this year, 1-10 doesn't matter. You got a new team, new mentality, new game plan. I think the Washington Capitals are going to come in with a solid game plan. It's one of their biggest rivals. Penguins have had their number the last few years. I'm pretty sure this Washington organization is done dealing with that. So I think they're gonna move forward. I think they're gonna get over that hump this year. But yeah, the Washington Sniper captain, Alexander Ovechkin, one of my personal favorite players. I love Ovi. He can't wait. I know he can't wait. He even quoted it. I follow him on Instagram. He is excited about this series. And I love that he's excited about this series, because when you just get beat up by a team, especially in the sport of hockey, it's really, really, really easy to lose your confidence. Especially in the postseason, when you just get dominated by the same team over and over and over and over again. Ovechkin is still excited about playing these guys. Why? Because he wants this challenge. It's a big challenge for him. It's a big challenge for the team. It's always a rivalry. There's always a lot of attention on the series, but it's a fun series. This is a series on my bucket list that I live on the West Coast. I live in Arizona. Now, one of my dreams, one of my things on my bucket list is I want to fly out to Washington, or I want to fly out to Pittsburgh. I'd prefer to go to DC. As much as I'd love to go to the Igloo and catch a game there just for the culture, for the atmosphere and stuff like that. I would much rather go and rock the red in DC, Red Tide. Now, Ovechkin, he's 32 years old. I just pulled that on Wikipedia real quick just to see how old he was. He still hasn't reached an Eastern Conference Finals. I think he's going to do it this year. He has to. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He really doesn't. One day it has to happen, and even he says that. So, as far as these two teams are concerned, I like the odds for the Penguins this year. Or not the Penguins, the Capitals this year. You catch that game tonight. Coverage is going to be on NBC Sports Network. Tune in. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Now we have a second matchup tonight too. Opening series in the NHL. Vegas. The Las Vegas Golden Knights are playing the San Jose Sharks. This game is going to be in Vegas. The San Jose Sharks made it to the Stanley Cup Finals just 2 years ago, losing in 6 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, who beat the Washington Capitals that year. Hold on. Sorry, I just have to yell at these dogs. Are barking all the time. I swear to God. I think a bird will just land on the porch and my dogs go crazy. All right, so where was I? Oh, yeah. Losing to the Penguins in 6. Penguins beat the Capitals that year, too, to get there. Las Vegas Golden Knights, they came off of a dominating series over the Los Angeles Kings. They swept my Los Angeles Kings 4-0. Mainly because the Kings just couldn't freaking score a goal to save their lives, but, that's none of my business. Instead, we'll just get back into the actual series. The Sharks seem pretty ready for this series. They did beat Anaheim. Anaheim was a really, really good team this year. The only weakness that they had was net minding, and in the playoffs, the net minding definitely gets exposed if it's not up to par with everyone else in the playoffs. We've seen that. So the Golden Knights, I honestly think the Golden Knights are just going to continue to roll. I honestly think the Golden Knights are going to make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals in the West this year. Golden Knights took the Pacific Division. I know they got about 109 points this year. Wonderful outing for their first year. Solid favorites to get to the Western Conference Finals. Again, my favorites to get to the Stanley Cup Finals entirely. Now, against the Sharks this season, I was trying to find their regular season matchups. The Sharks, doesn't look good for them. It's 3 games. They lost. Well, actually, they lost, 3 games. The Vegas Golden Knights are 3-0-1. 3 wins, no losses. Overtime loss. Or shootout loss. Could have been one of those. But 3-0-1. Never lost a game in regulation against these Sharks. They are 31-10 at home, and they have home ice advantage. They have one of the best home records. Had one of the best home records this year in the NHL. So I think they're going to take this series very easily. I think they're going to easily win the first 2 games in Vegas. They're going to go steal one in San Jose, and then they're going to come back and close it out in Game 5. This is going to be Vegas in 5. But both teams, this is going to be, it's going to be the same as far as net minding. Both teams have playoff proven goaltenders. Martin Jones, one of the trades from the Los Angeles Kings, he was 4-0, with just a 1.0 goals against average, against the Ducks, against the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. He had pitched a shutout, which was nice. So, the Sharks, in my opinion, the Sharks are the team that has the best chance to beat the Golden Knights this year in the playoffs. But if the Golden Knights get through the Sharks, they're going to get through everyone else and possibly, hopefully, face the Washington Capitals in the Stanley Cup Finals. But a big key in tonight's opener is going to be who can shake off the rust faster. Because you have both of these teams that swept the Ducks, swept the Kings. Who's ready? Who's going to be ready? And that's pretty much it. That's what's going on today in the NHL. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of action in the NHL. Just, two big second round games, openers, that's all. Now moving back over to the NBA, what's going on in the NBA tonight? Boston is going to be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. The Boston Celtics will be taking on the Milwaukee Bucks tonight in Game 6. This is a very, 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 very big game for Boston. Actually, not for Boston. I'm sorry, for Milwaukee. This game is in Milwaukee. Now, the Boston Celtics, they've been waiting so long to get Marcus Smart back. They got him back last game in Game 5. They put him back on the floor, and he just showed out. He was a huge defensive presence, made some big shots, and he was a great facilitator, especially late in that game with Al Horford in Game 5. So, he returned Tuesday, and he played well. Played very well. Now, Greek Freak, he finished an assist short of a triple-double last game, but he didn't score a lot. He was 5 for 10 shooting. They didn't get the ball in his hands enough, and that's what I was mentioning about the series before, or that's what I was mentioning about the game before, Game 5 when they lost, because Milwaukee should have won Game 5, but they just didn't get the ball to Greek Freak enough. But tonight's game, a loss Thursday night tonight, would not only just end the season for the Milwaukee Bucks, but it's going to be their final game played at the Bradley Center. They'll be getting a new stadium next year, but that's been their home since 1988. So I have a feeling they'd want to do something. I have a feeling that they'd want to win this game. As their potentially their last home game ever. They're going right next door. They're not moving. They're not going to Seattle or anything. It would be nice, but it's not happening. But Greek Freak, they've been here before. They've been on, this side of adversity. They've been counted out. I honestly think they're going to show out. I think they're going to win this game. They're going to force a Game 7 in Boston, and I think Boston is going to take it just because Brad Stevens is a hell of a coach. And that's the only matchup that we got going on in basketball tonight. I'm actually about to turn on the television because we got the NFL Draft. NFL Draft is today. Big question is who are we drafting first? Are we going to draft a quarterback? Or are we going to draft Saquon Are we going to draft the best player available first and then get your quarterback? Doesn't matter. It doesn't. We don't know. Whatever, Papa. So the draft is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you watched my segment yesterday or watched it on YouTube today from yesterday, we already covered the draft, covered the first 15 picks. I didn't really get into too many trade scenarios. Only reason is because I don't know what's going to be happening. I don't know what you're going to trade. I'm not 100% sure on what these teams are specifically looking for, because every single team in this draft that have a top 15 pick, there's multiple holes that need to be filled. The Cardinals, like I keep hearing about the Cardinals trading up for a top 5 pick to get a quarterback. they have a hole to fill at quarterback if Sam Bradford doesn't do the thing. They have a hole to fill at receiver when Larry Fitzgerald is gone. Yo, Papa Bear, thanks for the 5 bits, man. Appreciate the love, brother. You my dog. Thanks, brother. I'll still dance for 5 cents. I'm a nickel hooker. All right. So, anyways, we've gone through dozens of mock drafts. We've gone through more analytics. We've gone through so much stuff. That's so funny. I turn on the TV, and as soon as I turn on the TV, it's the jump. And do the Thunder have a mellow problem? Yes, they have a mellow problem. They do. And I hope everybody else in the sports world is calling him out right now because he needs to do his thing. But the NFL draft begins in 4 hours and 25 minutes. Will the Browns take Saquon Barkley at number 1, the best player in the draft, and then worry about their quarterback later at their 4th pick? Because you're still going to have, if those next 2 picks, if picks 2 and 3 take a quarterback, you still got 2 quarterbacks to choose from that are great quarterbacks. Do you really want to waste your 1st overall pick on Baker Mayfield? Because nobody's going to take him at 1, or nobody's going to take him at 2. The Jets might take him, but who cares? You got Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, like I'll even say Lamar Jackson. This guy is determined to be a quarterback in the NFL. When you have somebody that determined to be a quarterback in the NFL, let him be a quarterback in the NFL. But again, the Browns hold the number 1 and the number 4 overall pick. Draft the best player available. Do not, I repeat, Cleveland, do not make the same mistake. Okay? You're not going to get a Tim Couch. Tim Couch didn't even play that well for you through a whole stretch. He was great in the beginning and then just, who knows? But you want to take Saquon Barkley at 1. Just the best. Or Bradley Chubb. If you don't want to take a running back, take Bradley Chubb. He's a freak of nature pass rusher. And to put him on the other side of Myles Garrett, whoa. That would be a scary, scary pass rushing team. That would go probably in 5 years, if they drafted Bradley Chubb and Bradley Chubb lives up to his hype, in 5 years, NFL Live, ESPN, everybody will be talking about who's the best pass rushing duo. Who has the best pass rushing duo in the NFL? It's not going to be Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt. It's not going to be those boys anymore. It's going to be Myles Garrett and Bradley Chubb if you want to take Bradley Chubb at 1, if you don't want to take Saquon at 1. I don't know why you wouldn't want to take Saquon at 1. You obviously don't have that great of a running back either. There's multiple quarterbacks to choose from. Don't gamble on 1 of 4. Gamble on 1 of 2. All these quarterbacks are going to be great. Josh Rosen will be available. And I think Josh Rosen's my favorite of all of them. In my opinion, I think he's got the best mentality of it. He's got the best accuracy of all of them. The most poised, and he's the tallest. Josh Allen, I guess, is the tallest, but I really don't think Josh Allen is that great. Again, in the Power 5 conference games that he played, he got dominated. So that's that. But we're an hour into the segment. I'm out. I'm done. I appreciate everybody that came in here today. Scoopaloop, thanks for the follow. Papa Bear, thanks for the 5 bits, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the love. I will be back on in about 4 hours. I am not missing the draft. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a little draft thing like this with my whole set like this, or if I'm going to be playing games like Heroes of the Storm or something and then just kind of going through the draft at the same time. I'll figure that out. We'll talk. We'll talk with some viewers. We'll talk with the community, and see where we're at on that. But don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. We're trying to build this community up. So make sure you hit the follow. Follow me on all platforms. I'll be uploading this video onto YouTube. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. Shout out to Max Kellerman. Shout out to Skip Bayless. Shout out to Shannon Sharp. And shout out to LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. 2 greatest athletes of our time right now. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be on later tonight. I'm going to go hit the gym, get some food, just do my normal spiel through the day. And I'll be back on to play some games. Love you guys.